So I have a confession. I still think that the most fun I've had on the Steam Deck is with the games most people don't even talk about. So here's another top 25 picks from small unknown indie games to some legendary classics. And as always, please feel free to drop down your own suggestions below. So jumping into number 1, if you're looking for an extremely addictive gameplay loop, Super Hire is an absolute banger. They essentially smashed together elements from Hotline Miami, Max Payne, and Sifu and created a John Wick game. You have pistols, rifles, shotguns, melee combat, you can slow down time, go between first and third person, and it's fantastic in this form factor. And following up with a game that's turning 10 years old this year and kind of underrated, I picked this up for $3, Just Cause 3. You can basically just turn your brain off in a huge open world sandbox where you can play as a morally good terrorist, and it looks amazing on the Steam Deck. The movement system lets you use grappling hook physics with a wingsuit, all the freedom of GTA, plus a ton of vehicles. And next up is a game that came out of pretty much nowhere and feels like a hybrid between Vampire Survivors and Risk of Rain's level design and movement. It runs flawlessly on the Steam Deck. It's really good at making you feel like time is just flying by with everyone you do. And it costs about 1 skipped lunch, so not that bad. All right, this one's a classic. I remember my older brother playing this in the peak of the Xbox 360 golden age. It's a very nostalgic game for me personally, and it shows you how peak Ubisoft used to be. There's loads of customization. This was pre-microtransactions. The terrorist hunt mode is still stupid hard sometimes, and with a bit of tweaking the controls, it's a blast. And the best part is, you don't need Uplay. Now, mixing it up with an action platformer, I actually picked this one up based on your recommendations, and it totally plays like you're on cocaine. You basically take drugs, which make you strong, and you have a sword. Katana Zero's soundtrack is absolute heat, the story's great, and it has overwhelmingly positive reviews. You really can't go wrong here. The next one is a game that doesn't really get the spotlight much, and it has one of the best PC ports I've ever seen. Mad Max runs like a dream. The combat reminds me of the Batman Arkham series. It's one of those games that if you have a Steam Deck and can find it on sale or just buy a key online, it's $1. Throwing in another physics-based fighting game at 7, which came out recently, Stick It to the Stickman is basically the opposite of Mad Max when it comes to optimization. The game runs kind of like garbage. It also tanks your battery, crashes, but at the same time, it's a really fun roguelike, especially if you remember the old Stickman Flash games. I used to play those when I was a kid, and it's still addicting. Now, if you want to hop into a time machine back to the 360 era, 16 years ago, Dead Rising 2 is one of my favorite sandbox zombie games ever. I used to play this in co-op on my Xbox, and it feels perfect here. This was before the Dead Rising games fell off a cliff. It was $4, and it's fantastic if you just want to kick back and enjoy a classic. Now, following up with another game under $3, Kill the Crows is a top-down arena shooter, but it's set in the Wild West. So there's a bunch of weapons, the gameplay can be challenging, and once you get in the flow, it's really satisfying. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, Divinity Original Sin 2 is an RPG masterpiece. It's a giant game made by Larian, which made Baldur's Gate 3. You can easily sink hundreds of hours into this. Baldur's Gate 3 actually got me to try isometric RPGs for the first time, and I feel like this one runs well enough where I can actually play it in this form factor. Max Payne 3 is another generational third-person shooter and a banger. One of the reasons it's so optimized is because Rockstar developed the PC port alongside the console version, so what you get is ridiculously smooth weapon combat sequences, an awesome story, and it's refreshing to do a brand new playthrough without any sacrifices here. If you're looking for one of the best titles when it comes to replayability, RimWorld and a Steam Deck can be a deadly combo. This game will create these ridiculously randomly generated scenarios that keep you hooked. Basically, imagine a colony sim where you can harvest people's organs and sell them for profit. Controls can be a little wonky at first until you get the hang of it. Next up is a roguelike gambling game. This feels similar to the Balatro gameplay loop, but with a slot machine in a saw trap room. The demo is free if you want to try it, and if you like gambling but without burning your actual money, it can be really addicting. Another gem I've been able to enjoy on this is the BioShock collection. Again, this is really an awesome way to replay a lot of those classics from a few console generations ago. And the story and gameplay of BioShock Infinite runs flawlessly. Like if I showed myself this experience 10 years ago, it would have blown my mind. If you also haven't gotten the chance to try Hades on this, the sequel just released, and it's one of the best roguelites I've ever played. Hades 2 is basically the first one if you cranked it up another notch and doubled the amount of content. It's an outstanding way to kill time. Now, the game that got me into PC gaming was Fallout New Vegas. It's the GOAT of Fallout games, and the experience is actually pretty stable considering the game is a janky mess sometimes. I don't have a lot of faith in Bethesda and Obsidian anymore, but man, they dropped some bombs back then. Also, at this point, if you haven't played Terraria, it's one of the greatest games ever made. The controls on here are perfect for it, and that's even before you throw some mods on it. Here's another cripplingly addictive game. I accidentally realized this game looks insane on OLED when it comes to vibrancy and colors, and it keeps you thinking a bit more than just doom scrolling. Day of the Diver is one that has been recommended to me constantly for the chill vibes, but I realized the ocean exploration part of the game and art style are really peaceful. It's still challenging enough where the gameplay loop is basically catch fish, turn it into sushi, and sell it at a restaurant. Now, another underrated OG title is Sleeping Dogs. It runs perfectly. You have this open world where hand-to-hand combat is basically the main point of the game. And wrapping up the last 5 on the list, The Binding of Isaac at this point does not need an intro. The perfect game on Steamdeck, insanely replayable. The Hitman games are another series that actually run great on here, not just the new ones, but the old series. So pretty easy recommendation. The original Dying Light also runs at over 60 FPS here with pretty solid settings. I wanted to jump into this before playing the Beasts, and it's been awesome. Also have to mention Balatro. This game is 64 megabytes and almost won Game of the Year. And finally, you might have seen this one coming, you have to try The Witcher 3 on this. It changed the RPG genre moving forward, and having it anywhere is a hell of an experience. Also, a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, 1010. A lot of people use gaming as an escape from being burnt out at work. Forbes actually just reported a study that estimates that 66% of Americans are facing some sort of burnout at work. And life is really too short to be pursuing something that you don't enjoy doing. So 1010 is an educational platform that helps you actually change that by teaching you skills to start a new career in tech, whether that's software engineering and UX design to jump into the gaming industry, or even getting into machine learning. They have a ton of options and courses to choose from, and 82% of graduates get hired in 6 months or less, landing jobs at Apple, Discord, Spotify, Sony. It's beginner friendly, and the projects you work on are based on real company cases, so you don't just learn, you build actual experience. You don't need to have an existing tech background, and if you take longer than 10 months after completing the program and you still haven't landed a job, they'll refund 100% of your tuition. So if you are interested in trying out a new career opportunity or just sharpening your skills, you can use the link in the description or the QR code to get a free career consultation to figure out which IT profession suits you best. As always, if you are a small indie dev or you have your own suggestions, please feel free to reach out so that we can put good games that deserve the credit in front of people. Big thanks for watching.